This morning was a bit chilly. I woke up before the alarm clock rang, a habit of old people, waking up early without an alarm. I sat up slowly, my back ached a little, but I still felt lucky, because I could still see the light coming through the old curtain. I went to the kitchen, made a pot of tea. The water boiled, the steam rising up, fogging up my scratched glasses. I sat down on the wooden chair by the window, looking at the small garden in front of the yard. The orange tree had few fruits this year, but the leaves were still green. Every morning I said a few words to it, like talking to an old friend. "It's cold this season. Bear with it. I'm weak. I can't water you much anymore." A gentle wind blew, causing a few orange petals to fall to the ground. I suddenly remembered him, the tall, thin figure, always holding a pair of pruning shears. He once said, "Taking care of plants is like taking care of people. No need to say much, just need patience." I smiled slightly. People say old people's memories are often confused. But there are memories, the older the clearer. The sound of slippers echoed in the hallway. "Grandma, I'm going to school." Lily's voice rang out clearly. I turned around, looking at the little girl carrying a backpack bigger than her body. "Wait, come here," I called. The little girl ran over, her hair disheveled, her breath steaming from the cold. I pulled up her collar, stroked it gently. "It's cold. Remember to eat breakfast. Don't skip it like yesterday." Lily grinned. "I promise. Have you taken your medicine yet?" I shook my head. "No, I'll take it later. Right now I just want to sit and drink tea, watching you go to school." She bent down and kissed me lightly on the cheek, a hasty kiss but strangely warm. "Bye, Grandma." I watched her walk out the gate, her small figure disappearing into the thin mist. The house became quiet again. Only the ticking of the clock and the sound of the teapot dripping into the porcelain cup remained. I let out a soft breath. The smell of the brewed tea and the smell of the early morning wind made my heart calm. I knew clearly. I was getting weaker, but I wasn't afraid. It's just that there were things I hadn't had time to say, and didn't want to say, for fear of making others sad. I looked at the calendar hanging on the wall. Each passing number seemed heavier than the last. I muttered softly, "It's okay, Eleanor. Today is still a beautiful day." And I truly believed that. If I still found this morning so peaceful, then life, though about to end, had not lost its beauty. I don't know when I started forgetting things. The neighbor's name, Daniel's phone number, Lily's birthday. Things that were once familiar now sometimes fade away. But there's one thing I still remember: the people I love. And I'm afraid that one day I won't have the strength to say it. That day, I rummaged through my desk drawer and found an old leather notebook. The cover was worn, the corners were yellowed, the one Daniel gave me for my birthday many years ago. I picked it up and slowly opened it. The paper still smelled damp, the old smell of time. I took out a pen and with trembling hands wrote the first line. "First wish. I hope my son stays up less late. He works too much, he probably forgets to eat." I paused for a moment. My eyes stung. After writing that line, I remembered Daniel sitting in front of the computer, the light on until late at night. I knocked on the door. He smiled. "I'm fine. Go to sleep." I knew he wasn't fine, but I didn't know what else to do. I continued writing. "Second wish. I hope Lily eats breakfast every day. Third wish. I hope the orange tree in the yard still blooms, even if I don't water it anymore." Each line I wrote was like rekindling a small lamp in my heart. Nothing big, just ordinary things I was afraid would be forgotten when I left. I closed the notebook and put it in the drawer. I didn't lock it. I thought, if someone happened to see it, that was fine. Maybe they would understand me better, even if just a little. In the afternoon, Daniel came over. Have you eaten anything yet, Mom? Yes, Mom, I'm having soup. He looked around. Why do you keep writing something? I smiled lightly. Just a few small things. Just an old lady's story. He nodded, not asking any more questions. When Daniel left, I opened the notebook again, adding another line. Fourth wish, I hope you don't forget that I still love you, even though I don't say it. I sat looking at the page. My handwriting was now crooked and smeared with ink, but my heart felt strangely lighter. Maybe this is how I can still live, even though I don't say a word. I knew my body was changing. My legs were weaker, my breathing was shorter, and sometimes my heart seemed to stop for a beat before it started again. I didn't tell anyone, not because I was stubborn, but because I didn't want them to worry. One time Daniel took me to the doctor. The doctor said softly, as if afraid I would hear, "We should keep an eye on you. You need a lot of rest." Daniel was silent all the way home. I sat next to him looking out the window and saw the rain starting to fall. I whispered, "Mom's fine, honey. Don't worry." He just softly replied, "Don't say that again." From that day on, I didn't mention anything more. I started to hide everything. The pills I didn't take, the pain at night, the notebook I wrote. I hid it deeper, under the bottom of the drawer. In the morning, when Lily went to school, I still smiled. "Grandma is fine, don't worry." I said that every day, to the point that I believed it myself. In the afternoon, when Daniel came over, he always asked, "Have you eaten enough, Mom? Have you taken your medicine?" I nodded. "It's fine, don't worry." But in fact, my lunch was just a bowl of thin porridge, which had cooled since morning. One evening, I heard Lily whisper to her father in the kitchen, "Grandma is tired. Why don't we bring her back to live with us?" "Grandma won't, honey. She's used to it." I stood in the room, listening to everything. I leaned my head against the wall, not knowing whether to be happy or sad. I looked out the window. The garden was dark. Only the streetlights shone down on the orange trees. On the table, the notebook was still there. I opened it and wrote another line. The fifth wish, I hope you don't feel guilty. I choose silence, not because I don't need anyone, but because I want you to live with peace of mind. I put down my pen, closed the notebook, and slowly pushed it into the drawer. I didn't lock it. I just covered it with a towel like covering a sleeping child. That night I couldn't sleep. I could clearly hear the clock ticking, each tick reminding me that time was slowly drawing to a close. I whispered to myself, "It's okay, Eleanor. Tomorrow I'll wake up early again, make tea, water the plants, and smile as if nothing had happened." And the next morning I did just that. No one knew. Only the wind and the tree in the yard, the only two things that knew what I was hiding in my heart. I started sleeping more. One day I just sat down on the chair and fell asleep. When I woke up, it was dark. The tea on the table was cold. Daniel said, "You should move in with me. I'm afraid you'll fall." I shook my head. "It's okay. You're used to it." I knew he wanted the best for me, but I also knew if I left this house, I would leave the rest of my life. Here, every little corner had him, my youth, and Lily's laughter. One afternoon, Lily came home early. "Grandma, I bought apple pie, the kind you like." I smiled. "I miss it so much." "Try it." I took a small bite. It was sweeter than I remembered. I said, "When I was little, Grandma used to make apple pie, but now my hands are shaking. I can't mix the dough anymore." She held my hand. "I will learn how to do it. Grandma will teach me." I looked at her, nodded. "Yes, but Grandma will have to teach me soon." The next day I felt a little out of breath. Every step from the room to the kitchen was tiring. I sat on the chair watching Lily doing her homework. I said, "Lily, come here. Grandma will comb your hair." She was surprised. "I just washed it yesterday, Grandma." "Come here. Grandma likes to comb your hair." I held the comb, my hands shaking slightly. Her hair was soft, smelling of orange blossom shampoo. I combed it slowly. Each stroke seemed to hold back time. I whispered, "Someday, if you miss Grandma, go out to the garden and tell the daisies. Grandma will listen." She laughed. "You're lying. No one will hear." I smiled. "Then you try." That night I was very tired. Daniel called. "Mom, how about I take you to the hospital tomorrow?" I shook my head. "No need, baby. You just need a good night's sleep." He sat down next to me in silence. I held his hand. My son's hand was still warm, big, with calluses, just like his father's hand in the past. I said, "You're doing great, Daniel. I'm proud of you." He just bowed his head, said nothing. That night, I saw him in my dream. He stood in the middle of the garden, holding a basket of oranges, looking at me, smiling gently. "Is it time, Eleanor?" I nodded. "Yes, I think so." He held out his hand. "Let's go." I heard Lily laughing on the porch, a laugh as loud as the sun. I smiled, then closed my eyes. I don't know exactly when I left. I only remember it raining that morning, and the smell of damp earth drifted into my bed. Then everything was quiet. No more ticking clocks, no more heavy breathing, just relief, as if my whole life had been put down on a heavy bag. I opened my eyes, without really opening them, and everything was different. The house was still there, warm, but I could no longer feel my body. Daniel stood by the bed, his hand clutching mine, trembling. "Doctor, Mom," Lily sobbed, hugging her father's shoulder. "Wake up. I haven't finished the apple pie yet." I wanted to say, "Grandma is here, honey," but no sound came out. I just stood there, looking at the two people I loved most in my life, one trying to act strong, the other not yet understanding what had just happened. The rain outside was still falling. Each drop rolled down the glass door, sliding down just like my years. Slow, long, and unable to return. 3 days later, the house was quieter than usual. Daniel cleaned my room. He opened the drawer, looked for papers, then found a small notebook under the old towel. I saw him stop, pick it up, and stare. Lily walked in. "What is it, Dad?" "I don't know. It must be from Grandma." He opened the notebook. The first page was shaking with crooked words. His voice choked. "First wish. I hope my son stays up less late." I saw his shoulders tremble slightly. Lily bent down to read. "Second wish. I hope my grandchild always eats breakfast." She burst into tears, her tears wetting the page. Daniel turned to the last page. The last words I wrote, the ink was blurred. "Last wish. I hope my children and grandchildren understand that love doesn't need to be big, just real." He closed the book and held it to his chest. Lily hugged her father's arm. The two of them just sat there saying nothing. I stood by, silently watching. There were no tears, just a strange peace that washed over me. The rain outside stopped without me noticing. Light flickered through the orange tree. The tree I had worried would no longer bloom, but now, on its branches, white buds had opened. I saw him standing in the middle of the garden, turned back and smiled. "I told you, it still blooms, even though you don't water it anymore." I smiled and walked over to him, and for the first time in many years, I felt truly at peace. Spring came earlier than last year. I no longer counted the days, but I knew the time had passed, for the morning light was different, and the wind carried the scent of newly blossomed orange blossoms. From the porch, I saw Daniel bending over to mend the wooden fence. He was thinner, his hair grayer, but his hands were still strong. Lily sat under the tree, a small notebook open in her lap. She wrote something, her mouth moving, as if she were speaking to someone, perhaps to me. "Grandma, the orange tree bloomed today." I heard every word, though I had no ears to hear it. Her voice trembled, but there was a smile in it. I saw Daniel raise his head, look up at the falling white petals. He said softly, "Your mother has been hoping for this." Then he was silent. No tears, no sobs, just a gentle silence. A silence of someone who understands that there are things lost, not gone. I looked at the garden, where my footsteps used to be every morning, the wooden chair I used to sit on, the old teapot Daniel had left intact. Lily pulled weeds, put a few more white chrysanthemums next to the tree. I found myself standing right next to her, placing my hand on her shoulder. She turned around slightly, as if she sensed something. Her eyes lit up, her mouth smiled. "I know you're here." I didn't answer. I just felt strangely warm inside, because sometimes, without saying anything, love can still be heard. In the afternoon, it was raining lightly. Daniel was cleaning, Lily was covering the flower pots with nylon sheets. The sound of rain falling on the corrugated iron roof, just like the years when my grandfather and I used to sit and listen together. He appeared by the fence, his familiar gentle smile. "I told you, the flowers are blooming." I nodded. "I see. We can rest now, Eleanor." I looked out at the garden again, where everything was living, blooming, smiling. I whispered, "Yes, but I want to stay a little longer, just to see them for one more season." The wind blew, the rain cleared, and in the faint scent of oranges, I knew I wasn't leaving. I was just changing places, from a person in that house to a person in every ordinary thing they still loved. A year has passed, faster than I thought. There is no calendar, no clock here, but I know spring has returned because I smell the faint scent of oranges in the wind. From the porch, I look down at the garden, which I used to water every morning. Now Daniel and Lily take care of it for me. They do it clumsily, but enough to keep the plant alive. And that is the only thing I hope for. Today is the first anniversary of my death. Daniel got up early and cooked the chicken soup I used to make. He put 2 bowls on the table, one for him, one for me. I looked at him and smiled slightly. "You still remember how to season it. Very good." He couldn't hear it, but I believe he felt it. Lily ran out into the yard holding a new notebook. Not my old one, but the one she bought herself, pale pink, with a daisy-printed cover. She opened it and began to write. Her voice was small and shaky, but clear enough for me to hear every word. "Grandma, I still have your notebook. Shall I continue writing? My wish? That you and Grandpa are safe in heaven. That my dad gets enough sleep and doesn't feel sad anymore. Oh, I still eat breakfast every day, you see?" She looked up, smiled to herself, and then added softly, "I miss you so much." I was standing right next to her, just a breath away. I wanted to hold her, but I couldn't. I could only let the wind blow through her hair, gently shaking it, like my strokes always do. And she did turn around. She looked around with wide eyes, then softly said, "I know you're here." I choked. Without touching, it still felt me. That's the most magical thing about love. When you don't need to see, you still know it's there. Daniel walked out, put the cup of tea on the table. He looked at his daughter. "Are you writing something?" I'm writing to Grandma, like she used to write to us. He nodded, saying nothing. His eyes looked far away, wet, but gentler than before. For the first time in a long time, he smiled. I knew their sadness was fading, not because they forgot me, but because they were beginning to understand. Love doesn't end when someone leaves. Lily closed the notebook, hugging it to her chest. I'll keep writing, Grandma, because Grandma said wishes are never lost. They can only be given back. I looked at her, then at the garden. The sun was shining through the white-orange petals. The wind was gentle, as light as someone's hand touching my heart. I turned to him. He was still standing under the tree, holding a basket of ripe oranges, smiling gently. Are you leaving yet? I nodded, softly replying, Not yet. Let me look at them a little longer. Just a little longer. And in that light I knew everything I left behind had been heard, understood, and continued to live. I used to think one day, when I was no longer here, everything would stop. This house would be cold, the garden would wither, and no one would remember my laughter. But I was wrong. I'm still here. In all the most ordinary things they still do. Every morning Daniel makes a cup of tea, puts it by the window. I hear him say softly, just one sentence, I know you still like this tea. Then he sits still, doesn't look up, doesn't need to, because he knows I'm sitting there on the old wooden chair next to him. And Lily, she's still writing, every week, a page in the pink book she calls the Grandmother and Grandchild Wish Book. Her handwriting is slanted, soft, and sometimes smudged, but I can see it clearly. Every stroke is filled with love. Grandma, today I planted the first flower in the garden. Grandma, I made an apple pie. It won't burn. Grandma, I miss you. Every time the wind turns the page, I know. She's thinking of me. I don't need to show up. Just let the wind blow gently through her hair. So she turns around and says softly, Grandma is here, right? Yes, my child. Grandma is still here. In your smile, in your father's eyes, and in every little thing we've ever shared. People often think that to be remembered, you have to do something big. But she thinks differently. She just wanted to live enough so that when she left, she would still be there, in the smallest things. One afternoon, Lily sat by the window, rereading her old wishes. The sunlight shone through, illuminating her hair. She chuckled softly. Grandma, the orange tree has a bird's nest again. Maybe you saw it. I nodded. No one saw, but I knew I had just smiled. I turned to the garden. He stood there, holding a basket of oranges, looking at me with the same gentle smile as before. Are you leaving yet? I replied, Yes, but I left a part of it here, in their smiles. He held my hand, warm as the first time. We walked, in the golden afternoon light spreading across the garden. The orange tree blossomed white, the wind blew its sweet scent, and I understood. I didn't disappear. I just melted away, to live again in every ordinary thing that they still had.